It's not very good.
I would definitely put it in the top 10.
So good.
It's kind of a mess.
A great work of cinema.
Train wreck.
Beyond a slasher, beyond a jump scare.
More thought has gone into the story.
Respecting the source material.
Extremely gory, extremely violent.
The lighting, the sets, the costuming.
Extremely scary.
Well staged, well shot, well acted.
I saw the comedy for what it is.
Relentless.
It was just really, really good.
This is pretty cool.
Another reason why I think it's
so good.
Silent Breed is people!
Hello and welcome out there in podcast and YouTube land. You have reached Johnny Has the Keys. If you're new to us, welcome back. We're a podcast. If you're new to us, welcome back. Did you hear what I just said? If you're new to us, we're glad you found us. If you're returning, welcome back. This is a podcast where two guys get together. We talk about science fiction and horror films, television, key influences on the topic of the week, and then things that topic influence going forward. We've been doing it for, hundreds of years, so much so that I forget how to do the opening anymore. But
it's early.
I want to introduce my really good friend and co-host of this epic struggle, Tim. Tim, how you been?
Epic struggle. That's a great metaphor. Oh my goodness, I am doing well. We normally start this with a little icebreaker of something we may have done or seen or read in our genre week. And I watched a little movie I had never heard of, but I did a little research and said, hey, let's check this out, called Don't Move.
Okay, Don't Move.
Have you heard anything about this movie?
This is the one about the guy that, I guess he's like a serial killer or whatever. Anyway, he gives the girl the drug.
Paralyzes her.
Yeah.
There's some logic problems with this movie. However, I really wanted to see it, and it is a decent little suspense movie. But the main reason it got my curiosity is that Sam Raimi produced it.
Yes, I remember that. I remember seeing that. I think that's why I even paid attention to it.
Yeah, but it is directed by two guys I've never heard of, Brian Netto and Adam Schindler. It is written by two guys I've never heard of, TJ Simfel and David White. However, the cast is really good. It's a small cast, small story like I like, and they carry the film. It stars Kelsey Asbille, Bille. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. She's from Yellowstone and Fargo, so I was familiar with her. And then it also stars Finn Wittrock, who I am familiar with mainly because of American Horror Story and other Ryan Murphy projects. Mm-hmm. He makes a great villain. So, like you said, the synopsis is a grieving mother, Iris, ventures out into the remote forest to mourn her son's death. Now, this little synopsis doesn't say that, but it's heavily implied she's going to kill herself. There she encounters Richard, a seemingly sympathetic stranger who talks her down and reveals his true identity by injecting her with a paralytic agent. He explains this to her.
Trust in the woods. Yeah.
He explains all this, that within minutes before a total paralysis, she must summon her remaining strength to escape this killer and fight for her life. So she has some time before she's completely paralyzed, and he explains that. But that's where I'm like, I don't know about the logic there. It only gets 73% on Rotten Tomatoes with 49. I would probably bump it up to an 80 because it held my attention the whole way. And there are some very suspenseful moments in it, like when she encounters someone that's trying to help her and then he comes in and you're like, oh God, what's going to happen? I'm not sure that I would put it on our list, though. I'm not sure it's strong enough bad or strong enough good, if that makes sense. So that's what I did in my genre week.
A good suspense film for a lazy afternoon or something, maybe.
Right.
I bowed to the hype finally and had to do it because Andor's second season came out. It was a huge hit. Everybody was saying this is the Star Wars that we always wanted, blah, 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 all that. and several recommendations, one of them from Buck, who's one of our big listeners and supporters. And he said, you've got to watch Andor. So I finally have watched the first season of Andor. I haven't seen the second yet, but I'm going to. Hopefully I won't take another 3 years to watch it.
Well, it took them that long to make it.
But season 1 was incredible and really good. And all of my negatives that went, because I know you had seen it, and negatives going into it, I liked Rogue One, and we just covered Rogue One. And that put me in the mood for it. And Cassian was an okay character, but I didn't think he was that great. And then they were doing a series on him, and I went, what? But, you know, I feel like some people do that. Maybe the title shouldn't have been Andor. Maybe it should have been Birth of the Rebellion, because that's what it
something
is.
Different, maybe. Andor sounds like the name of a planet.
Yes, it does. In Star Wars, definitely does. But the characters in this were so good, and this story was so well told. I loved Stellan Skarsgård's character was amazing. The villains, the girl Dedra and Cyril, who I think is like a serial killer in waiting, both of them were just really good, and it felt Star Wars. And what I loved about it most is I don't even think, I'd have to rewatch it to find out, but I don't even think the word Jedi is even spoken in this entire series.
It's been a while since I saw it.
And you never see one. There's never a lightsaber, nothing, because this is in that before time when the Jedi are either killed or a couple of them are in hiding somewhere. See you out there, Obi-Wan. So this is in that time. And I liked the fact that there wasn't a Jedi or a Sith or any of that in it at all. It was very timely for our current times here in America, and it was also very interesting to see a resistance, how it builds and how it grows and everything else.
I like 3 things that I remember most, because I haven't seen it in a long time, were the 2 genres that the season's basically broken up into. The first being the bank heist and the second being the prison break.
Yeah.
But you've also got the whole corporate world of Star Wars in there with the business stuff. And I was like, well, that's interesting. They've never touched on this before at all.
Yeah, money, business, trade, the whole thing with the Senate, and she's a senator and everything else.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. I like when they go to stories and dig deeper for what other things going on simultaneously with what we know.
I loved seeing Andy Serkis, not in mocap, playing a really good character. And all these characters have depth. Even the ones that you see in like the first 2 episodes, and they're like one guy that Andor owes money to, and he brings the big, huge alien to be his enforcer to get it from him. And Andor says, you shouldn't really do this, and I'll be back. And he leaves. He becomes a hero in the last episode. So it was really cool the way, like you said, there's these little things underneath, and they've layered this story so well. So I really liked it.
I really want to watch season 2, and now I'm like, should I watch season 1 again? Because it's been so long, I can't remember a lot of it.
You could probably just watch like the last 2 episodes, because that's the prison break and then the actual rebellion on Ferrix. With his mother doing the big hologram. And Star Wars is big on holograms, female holograms that push the story forward.
You're our only hope.
You're our only hope. And this one was Get Mad.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm looking forward to 2. I've heard really great things about 2. And people say that it actually literally butts up to Rogue One. So that's excellent, because Rogue One butts up immediately into New Hope. So that'll be great. But anyway, that's what I did. You talked about a paralytic serial killer, and I talked about a science fiction rebellion story.
Our movie today has elements of science fiction, but it is definitely a situation now where you don't want to move, or you might get seen and eaten. We are covering a little movie called, why can't I find my, there it is, Diary of the Dead. First of all, I'm very happy because we're back in the land of George Romero. We haven't covered a George Romero movie since we did Day of the Dead, either last season or the season before. And This is a very strange movie. I think George's movies got weaker as he went. And even though this is a weak movie, it is nowhere near as weak as his last one, Survival of the Dead.
Okay.
And I have a special place in my heart for this one because George was trying to change things up again, which is a good thing to do. You know, change is hard, but it's always worthwhile. And in this case, he basically rebooted Night of the Living Dead with a different story and shot it in found footage style. However, I like the way George does found footage. A brief synopsis is that basically you've got this. Well, it opens up with a scene in front of a hospital where the pandemic starts with someone sitting up on a gurney and attacking these EMTs behind this woman that's reporting. You can see the picture behind me. But the main plot is with a group of actors making a movie, which I thought would be a lot of fun for you because it does have elements of Super 8 and other movies we've talked about where we had similar experiences making movies. And the outbreak happens when they're out in the woods making the movie, and it's how they all react. Two of them leave and say, we're out of here. I'm going to my house because his parents are rich and he can fortify his house. One of the others is the director of the movie, and he's like, no, I'm going to document all this. So they're on their way trying to get one of the girls back to her house, and then things have fallen apart because they get there and her parents are already dead, and then they decide, well, maybe we should go to the original guy that left's house since he does have fortification. They get in contact with him, and they do end up going there, and they find out that he's bonkers, and the girl that he went with is dead, and then he ends up turning, and it's a little bit of a mess. I'll just leave it at that. I'm assuming you have never seen this movie.
I knew he had done a movie with zombies in an apartment complex. And I thought that was what this one was when you told me about it. I don't
know what movie you're talking about.
Well, something about their zombies coming across the Brooklyn River or whatever. And there was, anyway.
I was going to say, that's not Romero, but now I want to watch it. What is it?
I had this misconception. I didn't even know he had a second trilogy. And this was the middle one in the trilogy?
No, this is basically, he did Land of the Dead before he did this, and that is the finale of the first three films.
Oh, okay.
And it's not good. It's a big budget studio picture, and the effects don't look, that they're very CGI, and it just doesn't feel as much like a George Romero movie as this one does. This one was, like I said, a reboot because he basically starts it over in modern times. And then the second movie is called Survival of the Dead, and it's another Canadian film, and it's this Hatfield and McCoy's thing on an island. It is weird. It is really weird.
Okay.
So anyway, not to digress. So this is like the second of a beginning, I guess you would say.
Right. So I'd never heard of it, thought about it, whatever. Never knew he did a found footage one and everything else. So yeah, this was my first time.
And your thoughts?
Well, I don't want to speak ill of the grandfather of zombies because what he did created an entire genre and still is going strong with television series and books and novels and graphics and movies and everything still. But I do agree with you. I think maybe his creativity was kind of waning at the end. I don't like the artifice of this movie at all. I don't like the fact that it's set up with this narration like we're watching a film. And she even says, I've added music to scare you. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Because George is a traditional filmmaker. That's why.
Yeah, miraculously getting a second camera so he could start doing edits was interesting. You and I both have struggles with found footage anyway. I think Wreck is probably the best one that we have seen.
And ironically came out the very same year. And it is in an apartment building.
Yeah, but it's the one that stays true to its cinematography the most. There are times when it's a one-shot entire sequence. that is very well choreographed and done and scary and interesting. This one, especially in the end part, when he's got the multiple security cameras and 2 cameras handheld with them, he gets into a lot of cheats with shooting what he needs to shoot to do the scene. I struggled with the cinematography, and I really struggled with the characters. I did not like any of the characters in it. I thought the characters were all constantly bitching and nagging and very, not anti-heroes, but just ciphers. They were just there to be killed. But I did like some of the social commentary he was trying to do, this whole comment on the way we consume media, and I just think he didn't go as far as he's gone in his other films. What he says about the military and the collapse of society and everything else in Day and commercialism in Dawn are there, but they don't hit you over the head, and you have to have a narrator say, because that's the way the world is, and should we even be alive? He shows it to you and lets you glean from it. And I thought he was going to do that in that big scene, segueing to scenes, that scene where the zombie is now attacking the girl from the beginning, the Texas girl. See, I don't even know their character names because
they blend in. Yeah.
They were so cipher-y. But he's actually chasing her, and she's running, and she's going, Jason, help me. And he just keeps filming. And I thought at the end of that, there was going to be some big deal about, so it was more important for you to film that than actually help, which is what we always hear about all these cell phone cams with, ever since Rodney King, of people filming stuff rather than being involved in helping the victims that are being assaulted or hurt or whatever. But no comment came out of that, really, other than Jason at the end said, take the camera and shoot me. But I do like the fact that she even has to tell us, we downloaded these things from the web, so he can use this archive footage of riots and murders.
The newscast, yeah.
Newscasts and stuff like that. So I think his thematics were there. I just don't think he has the depth that he used to have as far as being able to tell that story.
Yeah. If I had to sum it up, I think one of the reasons we have problems with this movie is because it's found footage. Yeah. There are some trappings with found footage that are hard to get around. And George, being a seasoned pro at filmmaking, was having problems getting around them because he wanted it to be suspenseful. He wanted good music, and it just falls apart with the narrative.
You can set up whatever fantasy, science fiction, horror, world building you want to, as long as you stay consistent with what you have set up. And if you set up that the only thing in this film is from a POV, then you have to really, really think about how you're going to shoot scenes. So you get reaction shots, or so you can have a jump scare that's effective, as opposed to a jump scare that looks really, really staged. Like, let's open up that door. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, we both struggle with found footage that's not done correctly.
Most of it's just annoying because it's jittery camera work. And like you said, who's going to be filming when you're running from zombies? That's a hard premise to go with. Right there.
And if you're going to do it for that extended scene, because it wasn't just like a one little run, it was like 3 different setup scenes of this thing chasing her and him not helping. There should have been something huge coming out of that with the whole group and all of them saying, Jason, put the fucking camera down or whatever.
And made it like an intervention film.
Almost. Or
you are not worthwhile. You want to be a cameraman instead of a human being.
Correct. And I think that's a true statement on documentaries, too. There are documentary people out there who do that, who say, I won't ever interfere. My job is just to record it.
I know that kid's starving, but I'm not going to give it a piece of my sandwich. Yeah. So.
I know somebody in the film crew has a sandwich or something. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of attitude.
I've got some notes. George Romero, prior to Night of the Living Dead, for those of you, we've talked about George in the past. He was originally an industrial filmmaker who did commercials and promotional featurettes with a group called Latent Image, I believe. And one of his assignments was on the series Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because they were both from Pittsburgh, and that show was shot in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. But this, I found out and did not know, At age 19, he worked briefly as a page boy on the set of North by Northwest.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I had no idea. But he later said he was unimpressed with Alfred Hitchcock's directing style, saying that it was mechanical and passionless. While discussing the directors who made a strong impression on him, he quoted Orson Welles and Howard Hawks, but that he was not that keen on Alfred Hitchcock. We know Alfred Hitchcock's a genius. I think that we're talking about the final product. I think he's talking about the process of making a film. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only way I can justify him dissing on Alfred Hitchcock. This movie was shot in 23 days, which is not untypical for an independent George Romero movie. And he wanted to do an independent because he had done Land of the Dead with studios and he got pissed off again.
Well, and obviously, my first watch note is there are like 5 production companies in the credits of this. It goes to all these different logos at the beginning. And I'm going, wow, he must have had a big contract with a bunch
Right. The budget was $2 million. It grossed $958,000, close to $959,000 in both U.S. and Canada. Its opening weekend was $232,500, so it did not make money. However, I was one of those that knew about it and went and saw it in a theater. I had to drive a good ways to go see it because it wasn't playing at a theater near me. That's how limited it was as far as release. Its worldwide gross since then is $5.5 million, so it has more than made up what it was spent. So it did make its money back. But who knows how long that took. Did you want to talk some scenes? Are there any scenes there's some scenes that stand out to me in this for sure.
Well, I think a lot of the kills are really good. His effects work really well. The biggest one I think that jumps out to me is the acid burn kill. It was really good.
Yeah.
The sword cut when Jason has been attacked, the way they kill the mummy guy, we just see his head there and suddenly it splits in half and we see the teacher behind him with the sword. I thought that was good. As far as sequences and scenes, I think the initial scene in the RV when she's driving and they come across the state trooper and he turns out to be a zombie trying to kill her, and then she gets around it and runs over people and then has to go into the field. That whole sequence I thought was really strong and really good with everybody and very realistically shot. All that worked for me. The hospital, I thought was
the hospital's a good scene. Very suspenseful.
That whole sequence is very suspenseful, works. He uses a lot of shadows and sounds and stuff in the background, deep focus stuff. So I thought that one worked really well. And I thought overall the very, very final sequence after Jason's died and they're in the one that starts with the professor shaving. It's like the next day. And he's talking about how there's a lot of, I think George obviously had the idea for that scene because the way he ends it with all of their commentary. And then even with she's shooting the one guy, he turns the camera this way and goes, oh my gosh, look, turns it back to her. It cuts to his camera and she turns to look. And then they both look and it cuts to the screens and you see all the people coming toward them. And then that very final sequence with the rednecks is a huge statement that I wish had been A, either somewhere else in the film, or B, more of. Because I really liked that.
Remind me of the rednecks because I'm confusing it with the military.
She says, Jason found this footage, so I thought I'd share it, and it shows he's filming these 2 guys and they're doing target practice, except this time they're doing it on real people and they've tied them up to trees. And they're just shooting at the zombies.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
They have a woman who's hanging up by her hair. And it's a great prosthetic because they shoot and literally blow her body off except for below her nose.
It's very CGI, but yeah.
The CGI effect, but it's very interesting. And then the daunting last sentence of, so blah, 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 are we really worth saving?
Yeah.
And I would have liked, because I think that's the comment that is so George Romero in all of his movies.
Right.
is, are we really worth saving? I love the guy freaking out saying, why would we want to live like this? I think it was Jason even in his last fight with her is saying, what's going to be there to survive? What's going to be there to stay?
I think you hit the nail on the head with the fact that, well, first of all, I think just one more rewrite could have made this a good film. And the main thing is we know from George Romero's zombie movies of the past that there's always an underlying social criticism of some kind. And the criticism of this is obviously what we live in still in this day and age, our media consumption and how it's basically media gluttony. And I think they could have easily made that statement with what you said, where we have like a group intervention and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The world is falling apart and you're still using a camera. That alone would be the theme of this movie. And it's a little disjointed.
He could have revolutionized too, because I think he could have married the genres. I think he could have had Jason be obsessed with this camera and having to film everything, but also tell a movie that's from a third-person, normal cinematography point of view. Now and then, we cut to Jason's point of view, and it's through that camera.
Oh, my God, I've got another idea, too. He could have done a whole Wizard of Oz thing where he puts the camera down, and it's a real movie. And then change the film stock to where the color is different and not that gray blue that you see behind me. Change it to a more vivid color, like Wizard of Oz. And that would have been great. Then you would have had a marriage of found footage and real footage. Yeah, that would have been awesome. He could have even played
with ratio. He could have kept it this one for this, but when we're cut to Jason's thing, it goes really wide, or it looks, there's an artifice to it, like you said, a blue lensing or a color wash.
Right.
So that, and he could have made a comment on, this is what we saw. We just saw this, but this is what Jason saw. What Jason was filming while we were trying to save this person, Jason was getting close-ups of it instead. It could have been a much better commentary, and I think that's what he was trying to do. I just don't think he had either the time, the cast, or the overall spark to get there. Because there were times when the humor in this, which he's always had a little tad bit of humor in certain things, I think that's what he wanted, because like you said, social commentary is always a huge thematic or spine of all of his movies. I just don't know if he had the time, the money, the spark, the cast, whatever, to actually do it with this one.
No, why didn't he get with us? Because we always know how to fix these things. Have you ever noticed that when we have a could have been movie that we always say, okay, this is how it should have been done. Well, and it would have worked. It's a shame because there's parts of this movie that I really like. And that's why I've seen it multiple times. I think I've seen it like 4 times because I always go back to it wanting to like it. You know what I mean? Just one of those movies. It's like some Star Trek episodes for you that you really want to like, but it's got major problems.
Yes, of course.
Especially when it involves people that you admire for other things. I love the scene where he's talking about his family and they're all out back, like weighted down in a swimming pool. And I thought that is the coolest image. But then I was like, there is no way. There's no logic to that at all.
Well,
first of all, if it's a zombie, you'd have to throw their dead weighted body in there before they're reanimated. That's the only way I would think you could do it. Because if you're trying to weight a live zombie, it's going to eat you.
Yeah. I would think that...
I think I have a picture of it. I do, right there.
And again, my notes on that one were... Because in the earlier phone call, and by the way, it's a really good thing that power and cell phone reception and all those things still work all the way through this entire... Because they're charging batteries and filming stuff and everything.
But it all happens in like a day or two, doesn't it?
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is we're at the very beginning, we've got this, what's going on. Within literally hours, they go to the dorm, and the dorm is vacant, and people have run away. And all that. I was going, that happened really quick. This escalated quickly, sort of thing. But I think we see the scene where Jason, I think, is the one that's talking to zombie guy. I call him Mummy Guy and his girlfriend, who have the fortress house. He's a rich kid who's
Ridley is the rich kid's name.
right. They're both drunk and giggling, and they're saying, "Come on down here. It's a fortress." Blah blah blah.
Right.
Yada yada. And they end up there, and Ridley is acting really freaking weird, and the girl is not there at all. They don't see her anywhere. That I would have much preferred finding her somewhere, and she's saying, "Stay away from Ridley. I've been hiding from him for 2 days. And he put his parents in the pool, and and all this." And we realize, oh, Ridley's a threat, but we don't really get enough of that until we go to the pool.
And he's somehow been bitten.
Right.
So somehow he's survived that long. I think that's where the logic goes away.
Well, that's always been an issue, though, with these zombie movies, is I want the incubation period defined, and tell me that, because it's zombie above convenience. So you have one guy, he gets bitten, but he's fine for 3 days. You get another guy who's bitten, and in 10 minutes, he's sitting up and chasing you.
It's genetics.
So how fast the virus gets to you.
Another thing I really love that George did, and it's an in-joke, because it's George Romero humor, because he does humor really well, especially underlying humor. And the fact that they're filming a horror movie and this guy is dressed up as a mummy and then becomes a zombie, you have him walking like a mummy. It's hilarious. Yeah. I'm like, this is genius. I'm so glad he did that.
Yeah.
So that's just like another moment in this movie that I do like, because it reminds me of the old Romero.
But him still being dressed as the mummy makes us think that this takes place within 1 day.
It makes it sound like it's the same night. Yeah.
Yeah. And that seems...
But we have a daytime scene at What's-Her-Face's house when she finds out that her parents and little brother have been killed.
Well, we have one before that with the Amish.
Oh, that's right. So there's a few days that go by. You're right. You're right.
So this dude has stayed in this mummy costume for 3 days.
That's because he got bit that first day and he just didn't turn for 3 days.
Because of his genetics.
I knew that would drive you crazy.
Yeah, it just, like you said, it falls apart in the third act, definitely. But even though that's a really cool location, I like his location use in this. I really liked Dawn because Dawn had the radio station at the beginning, the apartment complex, the television studio, and then the mall itself and all the varieties you could have there.
The SWAT team stuff at the beginning.
And this one goes back to that feel. You have the dorm when they get stopped by the
military
Guard, the RV. You got all these different, and then you got the fortress at the end.
Yeah. And I like her challenging the military guy and him backing down. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, you're talking about the militant guys.
Yeah, when they end up getting pulled over by the military and the military wants to confiscate their stuff, they end up going back with them and somebody disappears that's with the military. So there's a zombie on the loose. So they all have that in common. We've got to catch this guy. And then she says, "You're going to let us go and you're going to give us the gas." And he's like, "What makes you think I'm going to do that?" She's like, "Because if not, you're going to have to kill us and you're not going to kill us."
Yeah.
And I love that whole standoff between them. That's great.
Well,
powerful
he was
woman,
my second
George
favorite
Romero.
character. He was my second favorite character in this movie. Was the militant guy. I keep referring. There's two different sequences because that's what I call the militants. They've confiscated stuff. They've stolen gas. They've looted. They've done everything, and they're making their own fortress.
They've got like this own community in this little warehouse or something.
The military guys is a sequence I think he could have done more to, and again didn't. That's the one where they get stopped by the jeeps, and it's the army, and it's when that one guy, the one character, totally gets disillusioned because the army basically comes in and steals all of their stuff,
and they make them turn the camera off.
And then leaves them there. And when they get the cameras back, he goes, "Oh, so there's your military saving."
Right. You're right. There is a militant group, and then there's a military group. How did they come in contact with the militant group?
They were at the RV. They had parked in the city, and all of a sudden, the black guy came out holding a gun on them.
Right.
And he had a rifle, and the other guy had a pistol, and that was all they had because this was after the hospital.
They make it sound like they're just recruiting them to be a part of their community.
Correct.
But they want to leave. Yeah, you're right.
He basically would have let them stay.
And that's the scene where we have the acid eating the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good scene. I had one other I was going to mention, and now it's left me. Oh, well, it's not that important. The hospital scene, obviously. And I even like the EMT scene behind the newscaster. I think that's great.
The Amish characters is...
Oh, that's what I was going to mention. It's okay. I like George's humor, like the underlying humor of the mummy costume, but some of the humor with the Amish guy falls flat with me. It's a little too much. Because he's almost cartoonish in a way. But the way he keeps holding up his little chalkboard with what he wrote on it. Because he
Look behind you was the best one. Look behind you. And they all turn and the zombies coming over the field.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And the one I knew you would like is like her little brother being killed with the arrow. I knew you would like that kill too.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I just looked it up. I forgot. Greg Nicotero did the effects for this movie. He's even in it.
Of course he did.
He was a Savini protege, so that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Walking Dead.
Yeah. I can move on to cast if we've done enough with scenes. I'm not going to have a lot because, like I said, it's a Canadian cast. I'll mention some names. Schroeder Todd played Brody, but he was billed as Todd William Schroeder, so he switched things up. The girl that we like, the lead in the movie, is Laura de Carteret, and she plays Bree. So Bree is the girl we like. Amy Lalonde, or Lalonde, however you say that, plays Tracy. I like her. She's the blonde that's in the movie that's always bitching about stuff. So she's funny. The guy that you like, the militant black man's name is Martin Roach. His claim to fame was being in The Shape of Water, the Guillermo del Toro thing. So he had a role in that movie. I'm not sure
which. I've seen him in a couple of things, but only as like a supporting minor one-scene character. Mm-hmm. He's a really good actor. I liked him.
Yeah, I did too. Joshua Close plays Jason Creed. I think he's the one filming everything. He was in Killers of the Flower Moon. I have not seen that movie, but isn't that Scorsese?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so some of these guys have done other stuff that's worthwhile.
And Mike Abbott is in that movie too.
Is he? Okay. Yep. And I'm not saying that they don't do stuff that's worthwhile. It's just a lot of it's Canadian and we're unaware of it. Joe Dinicol played Elliot. He is the one that is with the camera behind me in the hospital because he ends up finding a camera, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Michelle Morgan played Deborah. Sean Roberts played Tony. Sean is in that picture behind me, too. He's the one I recognized. He was in X-Men in the year 2000. He played Rogue's boyfriend. He's in several of the Resident Evil movies. He played the villain, Albert Walker. I don't know. I'm not familiar with those movies, but I just knew he looked familiar, and he's very handsome, so he's got like a leading guy-looking face. Philip Riccio played Ridley. He's the rich kid in the mummy suit, for lack of better words.
There you go. See how we portray them?
Yeah, but there's this one character that's with them on the bus originally that freaks out early on, goes off and kills herself. She pulls the bus over because she thinks she may have hit innocent people instead of running over zombies. She goes out in the woods and shoots herself, and that's Tatiana Maslany, who is a huge actress. She got famous playing on the show Orphan Black, which I think is also a Canadian-based show, and she has gone on to be in lots of stuff. And I keep seeing her pop up.
Extremely versatile.
Yeah.
Extremely.
But in Romero's movie, Romero recognized her talent, obviously, but he cast her as a girl that doesn't live very long.
Yeah.
Scott Wentworth played, who I'm sure is your favorite character, Professor Maxwell.
Yes.
He's the only older person in this movie, really.
Yeah, other than the Amish guy. The Amish guy's old.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the Amish guy. But he's a Shakespearean-type actor, and that is reflected in his real life because he was part of a Shakespearean company.
One reviewer I read of this says he was doing his best Richard Burton. Yeah.
He's a great character. He reminds me of characters you would have seen in past Romero movies.
Yes.
That are a little eccentric. Yeah.
But he's the grounding of it all. They scream and yell at each other or bitch about whatever, and he's just in the back having a drink, just going, okay, kids, let's get this done.
Yeah, he never really freaks
good
out.
With a bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do find out that he's good with a bow and arrow. The only other casting that I have that's probably worthy of note is that Greg Nicotero is actually in the movie too. He plays the zombie surgeon. I think he gets shot because the other woman zombie in the hospital gets the paddles. Yeah. And her eyes pop out, which is very CGI and not realistic really at all.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. I hate it because it was around this time that people were heavily leaning on CGI as opposed to practical effects. And these movies are known for being practical effects, so it takes you out.
Definitely.
I do have one other casting note that you're going to love. Throughout this movie, in the background, you hear broadcasts, whether it's news, television, whatever. Well, the newscasters and voices that did those broadcasts are Simon Pegg, Wes Craven, Quentin Tarantino, Tom Savini, Stephen King, and Guillermo del Toro.
Perfect.
It's like any Romero movie. When he does one, everyone wants to be there. And you can tell he's got some pretty high-profile friends. I mean, that's a hell of a list.
And I have in my notes that Romero himself was the police chief.
You can see he's got his hair pulled back in a ponytail.
But yeah, I thought that was really interesting that he had all those voiceover talents.
Right. When he did Land of the Dead, Simon Pegg plays a zombie in it, and there's lots of other people in it as well. I think it was in the States. I can't remember. But that's all I have on casting awards. I have absolutely nothing. It is not on the 1001 movies you must see before you die list. And I understand that. But you would have think that I would have found some awards. Like maybe it was nominated for a Saturn Award. But this movie slipped under the radar. It came out and it was gone in a week. And I had to go to a theater I had never been to find it. Do you have any other trivia you want to do before we move on to Key?
Let's see. I had two trivia ones, and they're both like camera related. One was Romero did hire a cinematographer and use a cinematographer for this because rather than have the cast themselves shoot it, because he wanted that control and be able to, talk to the cinematographer, the right lensing, the right lighting, the right choreography, whatever else. Oh, no. Wait, before that, I had a thing about casting, so to speak, or it might be trivia, it might be production, whatever. At like 50 minutes in, they're at the RV, and it's after the girl has killed herself, and they're taking a break for a minute on the road trip. And we're hearing a radio broadcast. I don't know if you have it in your notes or you can find it or whatever, but it sounds like it's the original radio broadcast.
It is.
Because it talks about Maryland, and it says these victims are rising, and they're eating the flesh of their victims, and da-da-da-da, and all
Yeah,
that.
that's the one that he didn't have a friend that could do the voice for, so he just used the old stuff. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was a great homage, because it made it like it's happening simultaneously with Night of the Living Dead.
It is. And technically, in a bizarro world, this movie is taking place at the same time as Night of the Living Dead. It's just set in the present and done in this format.
Right.
So that's a very ambitious concept. That's another reason why I admire him for this film. Just because who would have thought to do that?
And then another thing in research, I found out that he did extensive choreography of these shots to get what he wants. So like the actors are like ducking under the lens as the camera moves over here, or they're coming around to get in position over here as the camera turns, and then they have to run all the way back and go somewhere else. So there's a lot of choreo that went with it. And once I read that, I was thinking maybe that's why the performances seem stiff, because they're more concerned about hitting their marks and being in the right place than they are about being in that moment.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? They're so concerned with, I don't want to screw up this shot, and I've
Yeah.
got to be here, that it takes them out of actually performing and doing really good work.
It's funny that you bring it up because I saw something that I did not put in my note where Romero said that this movie he thought would be really easy to make, and it ended up being harder to make than a regular movie.
Yeah,
because of having to do that.
Yep. So much longer on the setups, but he would film in like long shot sequences. He would do the entire sequence, which again is harder on film actors because they're used to these little short snippet cuts, and then I'm done. I can look at my lines, whatever.
But I also read that, and I don't have this in my notes either, but it's coming back to me, that he cast mainly theatrical people because he knew they would be used to doing longer things because of being on stage.
Well, I don't think we really saw that.
No, not really, because a lot of these people are too young to have been doing theater that long. But obviously the Shakespearean guy is one of the ones, though. And Tatiana probably came from theater background, too, I imagine. Before we move on to keys, I have several quotes that I put in here for just because I think they're funny. They're Romero quotes. And so I'm just going to read. There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
One is, if I fail, the film industry writes me off as another statistic. If I succeed, they pay me $1 million to fly out to Hollywood and fart. Sums up his feelings about Hollywood right there. My zombie films have been so far apart that I've been able to reflect on the socio-political climates of different decades. I have this conceit that they're a little bit of a chronicle, a cinematic diary of what is going on. Well, we've already talked about that because they all reflect the times. Another quote's, I never get sick of zombies. I just get sick of producers. And then lastly, I don't try to answer questions or preach. My personality and my opinions come through the satire in my films, but I think of them as a snapshot of the time. I have this device or conceit where something happens in the world and I say, ooh, I'll talk about that, and then throw zombies in it and I'll get it made. It's kind of my ticket to ride.
I would agree.
So he can make a movie he wants to as long as he puts zombies in it, because then everyone wants it.
Right.
I just think those are great quotes, and they say a lot about the guy, and that's why I like him so much. And everyone says
the same thing about gangsters or army men. We wouldn't have Megalopolis, you know?
Yeah.
Do what you do best.
Anything you ever read about Romero, everyone says he was one of the friendliest people you ever met. He retained relationships with the original people that he split with from Night of the Living Dead, and was still friends with them, even though there were lawsuits involved and stuff. He still remained friends with those people. So he was just a really nice guy.
They went on to do like Tales of the Dark Side, right? Wasn't that Rubenstein or whoever?
No, Rubenstein was Romero. He partnered with Romero.
Oh, okay.
They went on to do, Russo went on to write some books and also do Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is a good movie too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Keys.
My first key I've already mentioned, which is Wreck. I think this is along the same lines as Wreck. It's a confined space with different spaces within that thing, the apartment building, and it's all found footage and sometimes tied in with something else. So
And better.
much better, I think. Scarier.
It is definitely scarier. We covered it a few seasons back. And yeah, I had it as well. It's just ironic that there were 2 found footage zombie movies to come out in the same year.
Yes.
Yeah. One slow moving, one fast moving. However, some of these move pretty fast. I mentioned Super 8 because we talked about films where movies are being made about kids making movies. And one that is really big, and you probably have this as a key. If you don't, you're going to knock yourself in the face. And it's an Amazing Stories episode called Mummy Daddy.
Mummy Daddy.
And I don't remember a lot of Amazing Stories episodes. This is a series that Steven Spielberg did in the 80s, right?
Yes.
I think it was in the 80s. But it was a movie about making a mummy movie that real shenanigans start happening. And and there is a mummy running around in it as well. Oh, his wife's having a baby.
Correct. And he's trying to get to the hospital.
He's trying to get to the hospital in his mummy costume. And seeing this mummy behind me become a zombie just reminds me of Mummy Daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one that I had too. I also had a couple of other found footages just to group.
Okay.
On. So
Sure.
Cloverfield, of course, which again, when we rewatched, I went, well, that's not really as bad as I first thought it was.
It's good. I actually really liked it for a found footage.
And Hell House LLC, which I've told you about, which is very similar to this because it's a documentary that's been made from the found footage that they found. So it's very similar to this with voiceover and music underscore and stuff like that. And they mention it. They say, we've added this scene because we found it online or whatever. So it's structurally similar to this. And I'm not sure.
I'm going to have to watch that again. You like that movie, and I remember it being dumb, but...
Well, it is dumb, and it's a very... Well, it's about something happened in this haunted house on its premiere opening, and people died, and it closed, and now 6 years later, we're going to go back and find out, and we don't.
Isn't that the one with the clown?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember there's always this clown in the background and you're waiting for it to move.
Correct. In the last scene, you're waiting for it to do something. And then by the fact that she turns the camera this way and then turns it back and he's not there, oh, that's the scare. Yeah, okay, sure.
Well, you don't sound like you like it very much now.
No, the structure of it's similar to this.
Okay.
That's why I mentioned it. And then the last one I've got that's found footage is the one we covered that I really like that I think you kind of went, it's okay. I wish it had been different was Europa Project. Because especially when they were in the safe room and they were looking at, and it kept cutting to all the security cameras, it felt really a lot like Europa Project.
You know what?
Stationary cameras.
I feel about this movie the same way I feel about Europa Project. I wish it would have just been a regular film. And not been found footage.
About this one, yes.
Yeah. It would have been cool for him to just reboot the series and not do it in a found footage way. Yeah.
Right.
And do it modern. Speaking of which, you can't have Keys without the genesis of this film. And one would be Blair Witch and one would be Night of the Living Dead.
Yep.
So, but any of the Romero movies.
I would say Dawn of the Dead too, just because of especially the long shots in some of the news broadcasts and the long shots at the end of people just coming up to across the driveways and up over. It's very, and you're that pragmatic God view looking at them.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, and he does it with security cameras mainly.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other total mention is Walking Dead.
Yeah, I have that as well.
And my real last one is another road movie, zombie movie, which is Zombieland, which I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one.
I've seen the first one a couple of times, and I'm just not that big on it. Once you see Shaun of the Dead, you really can't have anyone else do a zombie comedy. That movie works, and none of the others to me do. I've never seen that Dead Don't Die movie either. The Jarmusch, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is not good.
Is it supposed to be a comedy?
Yep. But you've got people in it like, what's his name, play Kylo Ren, who's not a comedian.
Adam Driver. And then Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Well, he's also in Zombieland.
Yes.
So he's in two zombie comedies. And Bill Murray being in a zombie movie is going to take me out of it immediately. Yeah. It's just hard to take serious.
Yep.
I had a couple of other things that I wanted to mention. The concept for this film evolved from an idea Romero had earlier for a Living Dead television series, which would have begun at the same time as Night of the Living Dead. Well, guess what else was probably being developed around this time?
Walking Dead.
Exactly. Walking Dead came out in 2010, just 3 years later. So I have a feeling he got a no on that if he proposed it. and somebody knew of that other project. And then also within this movie is a documentary called The Death of Death. This is a key I did not know. I had to cop this from IMDb, but apparently it's the name of a George Romero 4-part miniseries for DC Comics called Toe Tags.
Huh.
So,
really?
Yeah, George was a writer too. I don't know if you knew this. I used to get anthologies all the time. He would have stories in. So he liked to write.
I didn't like that title at all. I thought that title was silly.
The Death of Death. Well, he lifted it from his comics toe tags.
There you go.
And that's really all I have on this film. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
No, not really. I think we both feel bad that it's like watching your grandfather say, I can beat you at Rook. And he's not as good as he used to be, and you kind of let him win. He used to be the champion. I mean, I wouldn't say this is a terrible movie. Don't watch it like we did with Fantastic Planet or whatever, some of the ones we've
Well, that's an extreme. That's nowhere near this. That's animation and sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a non-recommend, whereas
it isn't.
Still recommend people see this, watch it, appreciate it for what it is. Although it's got some inconsistencies, it does have some really cool effects, some okay sequences, and some social commentary that sometimes is too little and sometimes hits you in the face.
Yeah.
But that's what Tim and I think. Back to you, gentle listener watchers. We would love to know what you guys think. Did you like Diary of the Dead, George Romero's penultimate film? We would love to hear what you think. Let us know in the comments down below, or you can email us or whatever. Also, sign up, ring the bell, subscribe so you can know about new stuff that's coming. We have a full season ahead of us. It's going to have some really cool stuff to it, science fiction and horror. We also have a Patreon page, a shameless plug for that. That's where you can go if you really want to support us and help us continue to do this. There's so many podcasters out in the world. We need every little penny and dollar that we can get to help
us. Join us.
And Tim, until next week, when hopefully we'll be far away from the living dead and into something else.
Metaphorically speaking, maybe not, but it is a sci-fi film.
True.
It is a sci-fi double feature, actually.
Okay.
And it is a world that we love. It's just not necessarily the best of that world. But yeah.
Double dose of sci-fi next time, gentle watcher listeners. So see you then.
Yeah. I'll see you then.
Bye.
Can't start the car. Johnny has